Well, hello. Welcome to office hour on Wednesdays, slightly earlier than usual because today I have a call at 2. So there's a conflict, which is a perfect gateway to start our conversation around burnout. We can pressure ourselves as much as we want to make things perfect, to do all the things we need to do in the given time that we have and fulfill them. And we have to be honest that at the same time, it is very challenging these days. There is so many things that are asking of our attention. There are not only at work, also in private life. Maybe there's even some health concerns that are roaming around. You're having to see a doctor, or maybe not you personally, maybe someone in your family or relatives. You name it. Things are happening at lightning speed. So there's only so much we can do. And yet our human tendencies have that we want to still do our best. And sometimes our best means to slow down, to pause, to reflect, and to say no to things that maybe we would have loved to do, and yet we can't give our full attention. Well, if this is something that resonates with you, you have arrived in the right place, because I'm going to talk to you around burnout. And I'm just standing here and prepping myself a little bit because I wanted to use some things to write down, maybe draw something, maybe, don't know yet, just a chance. And so I'm just making some room here so that I can use the space. The only thing is it's going to be reversed, so it's not really doing much. But anyway, let me move some stuff away so that we can start. And so, burnout. What is burnout? Do you know what burnout is, how it shows up? And have you had the experience with it personally? Maybe you know someone. Maybe you worked in a team that you experienced it. One of your team players, mates, colleagues had this experience. And maybe it was, it's just something that we've been talking about a lot and is very common in the working environment. All right, there you go. Ta-da! And so, what is burnout? Burnout is the exhaustion of mental, physical, and emotional experiences, including, it's not limited to those three. It also includes doubt in our competence and doubt in our work value, in the value that we bring, right? Be it personal or at work. And so when those parts are overstretched, that's when burnout can come our way. Though not everybody is going to have those challenges. Not everybody is going to have difficulty with stress that turns into burnout. So burnout is an excessive, long-term dealing with stress. So if you are stressed for prolonged time, excessively, then the chances can be that you will experience burnout. It though has a lot to do with you personally, meaning if you are someone that can hold a lot of stress, that is able to think like big picture, is able to focus very easily, but also then, zoom out, zoom in kind of thing, then chances are you won't experience that. And then there may be people that are more prone to that. And in my personal experience, not personally that I've had this experience of burnout, which is not an illness. So why we might think of an illness, or how I would describe the difference in an illness, is that illness can be described as like, you have your heart rate is increased for prolonged time, which obviously with stress could be, right? But it's not a consistent thing. It could be like usually when we, have other diseases or illnesses, there is a symptom, a specific symptom that will you occur that will then demonstrate that you have that illness. With burnout, on the other hand, it's very broad. It's not so specific. So that's why it's a very personal experience, right? And it's not just related to work. It's the overall experience in life where we are over excessively focused, or rather we have too many stresses in our life. Maybe you're a parent, you have children, you have to figure out work deadlines and then being at the right place at the right time to pick up. You gotta take care of a household. Maybe you are you're a single parent raising your children. Maybe you have a partner and the partner is the one that does most of the work, getting like daily jobs, 9 to 5, for example, right? It all depends, right? Everyone, we might have similar lifestyles and yet it's different, right? And so the question of burnout is not necessarily around like, okay, let me just change my way of living. Okay, that could be one way. So there's few things we're going to look at. We just talked about what is burnout, right? And also that not everybody will necessarily experience burnout, even if they're experiencing excessive stress. It's a combination of many things. And the whole goal at the end will be to share with you 3 most important things that you can do to either prevent, overcome, and just have a better life for yourself. Because one thing is clear, those 3 things I will share at the end are not solely reduced to burnout, meaning to prevent it or overcome it. Those 3 I'm going to share are actually, drum roll please, for life. Everything in life that you do, those 3 things will make your life so much better. And at the same time, we're going to have our challenges. All right, I'm just put up this beautiful board. Let me just write down a few things. Let me just get something to drink. One moment. Ooh. Yeah, you're on a swivelly chair right now. So, I'm going to just pick these colors I have here. I don't even want to write burnout on here because one thing also is that whatever we're focusing on, more we're going to get from it, right? So if I'm focusing on stress, then I might get more stress. Not saying that by me not focusing on stress, I won't be stressed, right? Stress is a very natural experience. So stress doesn't necessarily, doesn't mean you having stress is a bad thing. We can have stress that's actually good for us. It's good for our hearts to feel that energy of stress, maybe some fear infused into that, right? So that can be good. It's just if it's prolonged, if it's consistent stress and feeling of fear, then, and the doubt, right? I was talking about how doubt of confidence and bringing the value in work can also be how we can experience burnout. So burnout, I just put cream on my head. Good. All right. So it's kind of like you have stress, right? And then it's like always stress, and you just never go to relax. So what we want is that we're having a baseline of regular life, regular stress, right? There might be some moments of increased stress, but then we want to find a way to calm down and de-stress, right? So that's our goal. Oftentimes, we're in continuous stress. Even sleep isn't even part of our relaxation because maybe you're experiencing insomnia. Maybe you have a hard time falling asleep. Maybe you have too many thoughts going on at the same time, which causes you not being able to sleep. And that might not even be just issues for sleeping. It might be a challenge throughout the day because you have all these thoughts coming in and out and you just can't focus. And that's where we get into more of like focus on excessive stress, right? That's where we end up being. So that was not a good idea to put cream on my hands. Anyway, so in this upper part, this is where we want to pay attention, right? If this becomes prolonged, if our stress level is always high and we never find a way to relax and calm down, that's when we have to just be more alert, right? So if for the past 3, 4, 5 years, right? So COVID has been now 5 years ago. It almost seems like due to COVID, some of these stresses have increased. One, a lot of people were out, so therefore you had to pick up, maybe it wasn't you, but your team had to pick up more work. And so that caused some challenges for the team that then caused more work for you. And it just never relaxed. It never came to a point where all these people came back and the stress level has been able to release, or rather the work has been released and given to more people. It actually went the other direction. More organizations have let go more people, meaning there is more work for you to do. And the tough part here really is when it is your working environment that looks like that, it is up to us to figure out this communication, open up these communication tools towards the organization that you're in. Either it's, I hear it often. Well, it's the industry. My industry is like this. My industry is like stressed out like this. They're always like, they don't care if you're here or not. They're just going to exchange you like no other, right? That might be true. And yet there are still people working in an organization, meaning we could make a human connection. So one thing that's really interesting is if you are working in an environment that you're very passionate about, you are very interested in like the end goal, you're working on projects that like lighten you up, that you feel like, oh my God, I want to be part of this. If you're an engineer, a scientist, like these are some professions that really like they love what they do, right? Maybe you are someone who is more in work, there's like accounting, where it's like you know about what's to come every month, every week, you know exactly what's to come. That too can cause some burnout if it's too monotonous. And so both things still can cause burnout, right? So the focus again is not on what causes burnout. The focus is on how do I cope with the work that I do. If it is monotonous, maybe I ask myself, how can I make it more engaging, right? Maybe the work itself will never change. That's just what it is. So unless you are enjoying that kind of work, like the basics and the foundation of the work, then don't look to change that, because you finding a job that might not be as monotonous and maybe is a different field will cause you too some other consequences. You got to learn a new field. You got to start from the beginning. You're not going to make as much money as you did. So all these questionnaires will feed in to that exact same issue. Now, you can still be in a lifestyle that is more welcoming, right? I wanted to say like relaxing, but at the same time, that's not always what it's going to be. So we have to be okay that there are moments of stress and there's some moments of de-stress, right? Meaning there is high level of stress and then not so much. So that's for the monotonous work. If you are more in like an environment of passionate work where it's always on 100, there is always something to do, then we have to practice other practices of awareness, right? Where we have to be able to say no, for example. So by saying no, we sometimes feel like, oh my God, I don't want to say no because that's going to have a negative impact on me. If I say no to this, then they're going to ask someone else and then they're never going to come back to me. So, okay, if that's your thought process, before you say no, have this conversation with the person that is relevant in that situation without making it seem like, oh, I'm too busy, I can't work, like it's too much. Because if you're signaling that obviously is not what you want them to hear, because they're like, oh, it's too much, let me take it off your plate and let me give it to someone else. So obviously we want to be very mindful on how we want to hold these conversations. So at the end of the day, when it comes to feeling overworked, feeling overstressed, excessively stressed, not getting enough sleep, we have no other choice than putting the brakes on for a moment, look out the window, look at the scenery, take a bigger picture, and look. So let's say you're here, right? This is your situation. All the stuff that's going on is right here. And there is a whole bunch of things around you that are happening as well. So obviously, you might be the person that is very considerate of all these things going on around you. And you're like, oh, let me be supportive and helpful to everyone around me, right? So that thought gets smaller and smaller. You are no longer a human being. You are just someone who's giving and giving and giving, and you are depleting yourself. That too can cause you to feel excessive stress, because all of a sudden there is no energy coming back to you. Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that's left. You are the only thing that is a matter of fact in this whole scenario. So again, unfortunately, we have to talk about it. We have to bring it up. We have to have conversations around it. And not in a way that I can't do it, more in a more sensible way. Because just remember, if you are exiting the work, someone else will take it over, then that means for you, right? If you are not going to say anything and you just keep working, you're going to be out either way. So no matter what, you are required to have this conversation. Because at the end of the day, you want to be safe, right? You want to have this job. You want to have an income. That's the bottom line. So unfortunately, we have to have conversations that are uncomfortable. We have to be bold at times. We have to figure out ways to communicate what we're going through. And hopefully, there are only some things in your life that are causing these extra stresses that can, figure out a different direction, meaning your stress can go lower. You can maybe figure out ways that you can connect to other people that can support you in this particular area, and so that then you can also support them once you are in a better place, right? So that's just referring overall life, because all these thoughts that I made is not just work. Let me use this other pen. Let's use black. There is work, there is family, there is hobbies. Oh, don't forget about friends, and then exercise, right? So there's all these things happening around it that we want to pay attention to. And so here are coming those 3 solutions. I definitely think, so there's these 3 things that would help us, right? To prevent burnout. And before I share them, I want you to be just aware on how you want to implement them. Because you're not going to implement them like this, and unless you're already doing them, then that's obviously great. If you're already doing all the things that I'm telling you, I don't know. Do you experience burnout? Maybe you are just listening. So then you are just here to help your people. If you have colleagues that you feel like they're experiencing this, then you are the person that can support them in that environment. And so, all right, I'm sure you want to hear what those 3 things are. I'm going to take guesses, 3 guesses. Anyone? I mean, nobody's here, so nobody will be taking a guess. So before I even share those 3, one funny thing that I learned the other, I mean, it's not really funny, but it's just interesting. Alzheimer, which I'm sure everybody knows about. Maybe you even experienced it in your life with someone. Those 3 things, if you take care of those 3 things, would even help if you were diagnosed or someone you know is diagnosed with Alzheimer, to improve their memory. So imagine if you're doing those 3 things for your work, for the burnout, for example, preventing it, you will also help many other things. It would even help with heart disease, stroke, you name it, anything really. So, all right, I really have talked a lot around it, around the bush. So now I'm going to tell you. Number 1, very important for our brain and body is, I already wrote it down, exercise. Well, here, let me just write this down with red. Orange. All right, number 1 is exercise. And exercise doesn't mean go to the gym every day, right? It could mean different things. It could mean, yes, the gym once and twice a week or so, taking longer walks, being outdoors in fresh air, something that animates our brain and body to be active, that is not work, right? Unless you're in construction, then obviously your body is already working. The question is, can it be work that's not work, right? So with exercise, obviously that could also look like work. So you can't really get around it. So that's one thing. Then the other types of exercise that's really relevant is muscle gain. And it sounds like, I mean, I'm sure most of you that are watching this are familiar that the older you get, the more muscles you need, or maybe you don't know that, but that's something, especially as women. And it's not like we want to be strong like Hulk, for example. It's more about building that strength to keep our bones safe in case of we're falling. Our muscles can really help us with that, and so on and so forth. So exercise, really important. And I definitely can increase that level in the intensity, and yet I'm doing it, so that's already great, right? So 1, exercise. 2, which goes very much with exercise, is nutrition. Nutrition. I mean, I cannot stress to you how underrated nutrition is. We might think of it just like, my tummy's growling, I need to eat something, let me eat and move on, right? And it is, I'm sure, no news to you. And yet we need to remind ourselves that it is so important to be more concerned, like, not concerned, but like, be a little bit more attentive to the foods that we eat, right? High sugar, refined carbs, it's really not helpful. I was just doing a women's health presentation the other day and I even watched one. So it's like I'm all in this health roller coaster. And one real interesting thing is talking about heart disease, stroke, the arteries in our bodies, which is not little. There's a lot of arteries in our bodies. They can't handle plaque in them. If you thought it was just smoking, think again. There are many reasons why our arteries can clog. And with a lot of foods that we're eating these days, especially the processed, ultra-processed foods, they are not healthy. So the moment something is packed up, please make sure that the nutritions in there are really what it is. Because if you start paying attention, you are not going to buy as much in the grocery store. At least that's what has been happening to me. It's like, oh my God, it is so hard to actually find foods that are good for us, that are pre-packaged, right? I'm sure you find tons of them. And I'm not saying trash it all, right? It's just be more deliberate about what you're putting into your mouths. So pay attention. Let's say you love sugar, right? The sweets, the candies, the chocolates, whatever it is, right? Minimize it, limit it, right? It's just for your own good. And the thing is, you'll hear it from me, you'll hear it from many people, but it is very unfortunate that if we're not paying attention, nobody will. The corporations are creating these foods, they're not looking out for you. They're looking out for them. So therefore, we have to look out for ourselves. Again, coming back to that circle, right, that I made here at the beginning. It's really, really significant that this piece here, and this looks like a wheel, right? It literally looks like a wheel. But this wheel is not going to roll if there isn't a centerpiece. I mean, I'm no technician. I don't know much about wheels, but there is always a centerpiece somewhere, whatever, where you attach it, be it a bicycle, a car, anything. There's a centerpiece that is making the whole wheel roll. From day one, wheels were invented, right? Again, I have no clue about the invention of wheels to that matter. I'm just looking at wheels in my environment. So sometimes that's already enough, right? At least for now. So this is important. You are important. And I know you've heard it plenty. There is the saying of like the airplane, right? Like put the mask on yourself first before you help someone else. That's like one of the obvious. The other one is you can't fill another cup if your cup is empty. Something like that, right? Like there's many sayings, and these sayings, take them seriously. They really have true meaning behind them. Even with the apple a day falls into that same category, right? All right, so now last but not least, what do you think is the last piece missing here? What piece do you think that is really significant that will encompass these two and make it whole? Something we all love to do. I don't know about you, but so far I have not met a person that does not like it. Unless it's because they have insomnia, maybe they have like bad dreams and such. But other than that, everybody loves sleep. And it is very unfortunate that we don't give this enough attention. I do know a lot of people that do. I try to, not very successful most times. Though there are some things that we can do better, right? I mean, obviously it'd be great to go to bed at a reasonable time, be it like 10. Some even that I know go 9. They're like 9 is my time, depending on what time you get up in the morning. The most important thing though to me is phones. Do your best to not have your phone near sleep. I haven't had my phone with me for a very long time. I don't know how many years it's been. And yes, I don't need an alarm because I wake up on my own. Like today I have a talk. I woke up at 5:16. I didn't choose to wake up then, so I kept sleeping and I woke up at 6. So, we can train our bodies if we wanted to. And yet there are other options. There are the old school alarm clocks that we can use. I found one when I started transitioning to no phones. An actual alarm is one that rises like a sun. So it first just has like light go on that can then wake you up. And then it also has a sound if you haven't woken up by then to turn it off. So there are some things out there that you can help yourself with a better sleep. Because one challenge, if you are experiencing insomnia, if you're experiencing struggle sleeping through the night, having your phone nearby is going to make it even harder. If you're using your phone for some apps out there that help you fall asleep, that have meditation on there, like Nidra, Yoga Nidra or such things, then obviously that's one thing. I also know chances are high when we touch that phone that we're not just staying with that app. So this is the practice to you, talking about self-discipline. I mean, these all have to do with self-discipline, right? So at the end of the day, what's really, 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 really important, I cannot stress to you, is that we become more aware, again, I'll pull this out, more aware of this little thing in here and use the external parts just as a way to make our world go round, right? Meaning, if this doesn't work, this wheel is going to be all wobbly. So what we really want is to take care of this piece that is you, that is me, that is this body and mind. Give it enough exercise, meaning a little bit of a physical stress, right? Give it some nutrition that can actually feed you during stress, gives you this energy so you can actually go through these difficult times with more ease because you got the energy for it, right? And then 3, sleep, which is also a recharge, which is also some energy that can give you the energy for the day. Meaning if you have a stressful day or time or month or years, it can actually help you. So even if your excessive stress is not going away, even if you cannot fix the work environment that you are in, those 3 things, if you implement that into your everyday life, there is something you can do about it, because every one of us is eating every day. So that's an easy one. Just start by being more aware of what you put in your mouth. Everybody sleeps. Maybe not all the night, but it's definitely something to help us with. And if we get those 2 that we already are doing in check, if we're just focusing on those 2 for now, you will find time to do the exercise as well. And exercise could be some small walk during lunchtime, in the morning. It could be even walking a few times a day between tasks, right? So at the end of the day, the way we want to move our bodies, it doesn't matter as long as you're doing it. So we always have the impression, oh, I gotta have 6 to 8 hours sleep. I have to have all the foods to eat. I have to have all the exercises. Like, no. Take 1 breath. Think about it. Take that 1 apple a day. Have that 1 vegetable. Make 1 day a vegetable day. Like more vegetables than others, right? And build yourself up to it. Sleep. If you're lucky to get 3 hours sleep, make those 3 hours great. And see what is the thing you do between those sleeps that you have. 3 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours, right? Are you picking up a phone? Are you getting on an email? Are you trying to think of things, right? Or am I maybe able to pick something else to get myself back to sleep? Because the thing is not that you're waking up, it's what you will do between them. So I'm just pointing at these 3 to tell you that these are significant things that we can adjust and do to improve our lives. Period. Burnout or no burnout. So that really doesn't matter. Anyway, I am super excited about this topic. I'll be sharing more about it. I have retreats coming up if you're living nearby. I'm in Westchester, New York. Feel free to reach out. And these retreats, for example, in nature for 4 hours are some resets that we need to do sometimes. Because sometimes we need to remember and to remind ourselves, oh, that's what we need to do. And just one last tip. I know I said 3, but I'm giving you a bonus. I'm giving you a bonus today. So whoever stayed till the end, I'm going to make that clear on the description. Stay till the end to find out the extra. Number 4, something you're already doing already, something you would not be alive with, that is a must to pay attention to, not all the time, but here and then, during the day, a few times, is, drum roll please, our breath. So, the last thing I want to share, I know it's 4 things, and you can do this with me right now, is take a deep breath in, exhale out, and know that you are doing exactly what you're supposed to do. If you listen and watch this till the end, keep on taking those deep breaths. Keep on focusing on what makes your life full. And you will overcome and prevent burnout for yourself. So, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments what your takeaways are. Also, what are some experiences that you had with the topic of burnout? What are some things you have noticed and changed up in case you have experienced burnout before? And so with that said, thank you so much. Happy Wednesday. Till next time.